BIDMAS or BODMAS. They're just acronyms that help us to remember the order in which we need to solve calculations, which order we need to use the operations. To go through this video, as well as confidence with the four main operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, it would also be helpful to understand square and cubed numbers. BIDMAS, BODMAS. Generally in Year 6 children are taught BODMAS, and we'll go through why that is in a moment. Most of the children I work with in secondary use the acronym BIDMAS. They mean exactly the same thing. B, the very first operation that we have to use in a calculation, is brackets. So if there's anything in brackets in your calculation, you have to do that first. Second, the only difference with the two acronyms, but they mean exactly the same thing. In secondary, we call them indices. In primary, I've seen them called order. I've also seen them called other. All that means is square numbers and cube numbers. Some teachers don't teach this part of BIDMAS, BODMAS to Year 6s, but I'm going to include some in here just so that you can see what they are. The next two, division and multiplication. Even though division comes before multiplication in the acronym, it's no more important. If you have a calculation where a multiplication comes before the division, do the multiplication first. The same applies with addition and subtraction. They're less important than the others, but they are as important as each other. So if a subtraction comes up before an addition, you can do that first. The reason we use BIDMAS, BODMAS, order of operations, I'm going to show you a very common mistake, and this is something you may have seen in different formats on social media. We have the calculation 3 add 4 times 6. We tend to work from left to right. So many people will look at this and say 3 add 4, that's 7, multiplied by 6, that's 42. According to BODMAS, that would be incorrect because it's not the correct order in which to do the operations. Now, to write that calculation out again, this time we're going to look at the operations and check it against the BODMAS acronym. You can see that we have a multiplication and an addition, and that multiplication comes before the addition. So we need to deal with that first. 4 times by 6, that's 24. When I'm doing these, I tend to cross out the ones I've dealt with so I don't inadvertently include those numbers with something else. Now I'm left with 3 add 24. And the answer is 27, very different to the answer we had previously. If, however, this same calculation was written out, but the brackets were put round 3 add 4, then we would have the answer we had to start with, because the brackets come before the multiplication. Even though there's addition inside those brackets, because they're in the brackets, they take priority over the multiplication. So once again, 3 add 4 is 7, times by 6 is 42. This time 42 is correct because the 3 add 4 is in the brackets. Here we have two identical calculations, but we're going to put brackets round 20 subtract 10 in the second one. So we will get different answers for each of these. Starting with the top one, we have division, which comes before subtraction. So we're going to deal with the division first. 10 divided by 5 is 2. I'm just going to cross that out. Now I'm left with 20, take away 2, which is 18. If we look at the second one, however, we have to do the subtraction first because it's in the brackets. 20 take away 10 is 10. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Two very different answers to what looked initially as if it was going to be exactly the same. Here's one for you to have a go at. Pause the video, have a go, see how you get on. Looking at the first one, we need to deal with 12 divided by 2 first. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Now we have 50, add 6, that's 56. What about the second one? This time 50 add 12 is in the brackets, so we need to do that first. 50 add 12 is 62. 62 divided by 2 is 31. And again, we have two very different answers. Sometimes you'll get questions where you're given the answer to a calculation, but you may need to decide if you have to put brackets in to make that answer true. Sometimes you don't need to put the brackets in, it's in the right order. So we're going to look at this one and just test it without brackets to see if it works. 6 times 12 divided by 4 plus 9 is 27. Let's see if it's true as it's written there. We have the multiplication first, followed by the division, followed by the addition. Remember that multiplication and division share equal priority. Even though division comes first in the acronym BODMAS, the multiplication is first in this calculation, so we do that before the division. Starting with 6 times 12, that's 72. The next operation is division, because that's more important than addition. 72 divided by 4, that's 18. Now we have 18 plus 9, and that's 27. So we dealt with the multiplication first, then the division, then the addition, which is correct according to BODMAS. We didn't need any brackets to make that correct. Another type of question you might get will definitely require at least one pair of brackets, sometimes more than one pair. Here we have 7 add 5 times 4, take away 3 equals 12. Is that true if we don't put brackets in it? What I'm going to do, even though we don't need the brackets around 5 multiplied by 4, because that comes first anyway, it often helps to put the brackets in just to clear it in your own mind which bit you're doing first and which bit you've already dealt with. 5 multiplied by 4, that's 20. Then I have an addition and a subtraction, so I'm going to do them in the order they're on there. 20 add 7 is 27. 27 take away 3 is 24. So that is not the correct order of operations to get the answer 12. So what I'm going to do is pause this here, let you have a go, see if you can find out where the brackets need to go to make the answer 12. Let's see if it works if we put the brackets round 7 add 5. So now we have 7 add 5 multiplied by 4 take away 3 equals 12. Does that work? 7 add 5 is in the bracket, so that goes first, that's 12. The next operation we need to use is multiplication. 12 times by 4, that's 48. And we're left with minus 3. 48 take away 3 is 45. So that one isn't correct either. Let's try a different way. Let's try putting the brackets around 4 take away 3. So deal with the brackets first. 4 take away 3 is 1. The next operation we deal with is the multiplication. So we have 5 multiplied by 1, which is the number now in the bracket. 1 times 5, that's 5. And 5 add 7, that's 12. The brackets need to be around the 4 subtract 3 to make this statement true. For those of you who are more familiar with using square numbers, I've included a couple where you can have a go at doing that as well. I'm just going to go through this one, then I'll give you one you can have a go at. We have 3 squared times by 2 plus 10 in brackets, take away 28. We need to deal with the brackets first. 2 add 10 is 12. So we've dealt with that bit. According to BODMAS, we need to do the squared bit next. So 3 squared, that's 9. 9 times by 12, take away 28. So the next bit we need to do is 9 times 12. And 9 times 12 is 108. Now we take away 28, and the answer is 80. If you got on okay with that, have a go at this one. Pause the video, have a go. Brackets first, 28 divided by 4, that's 7, and we can cross that bit out. Next we deal with the 5 squared. 5 squared is 25, and we're going to add that to the 7 that was in the brackets, and we have 32. And now finally 32, take away 10, that leaves you with 22.